Now, perhaps no single mechanism of the prosperity gospel has really generated more financial benefit for its teachers and more financial harm to its followers than the seed faith principle. The doctrine that financial gifts sown into a prosperity ministry will, be supernaturally multiplied by Yahweh back to the giver with returns typically described in ratios such as 30, 60, or 100-fold. And this is presented as a spiritual law, as reliable as any natural law that guarantees financial return to those who give in faith. So let's begin here by examining the misuse of the sowing and the reaping text in Scripture. Let's go to 2 Corinthians 9, verse 6, where the text says, "Remember this, the person who sows sparingly will also reap sparingly, and the person who sows generously will also reap generously. Each person should do as he has decided in his heart, not reluctantly or out of necessity, for Elohim loves a cheerful giver." Now this passage, along with the parable of the sower in Mark 4, it's one of the most frequently cited texts in the seed faith teaching. But the testing framework requires that we examine what Paul is actually saying in its context. Now, the entire section of 2 Corinthians chapters 8 and 9, it's Paul's appeal to the Corinthian congregation to contribute generously to the collection for the impoverished believers in Jerusalem. And so the sowing and reaping language here, it's an agricultural metaphor for the principle that generous giving, it produces generous results. But the results Paul has in view here are not material returns to the giver. They are the spiritual fruit of generosity, the meeting of the Jerusalem church's needs, and the gratitude and prayer of those who are helped, and the glory that accrues to Yahweh through the practical expression of covenant love. And Paul says nothing about financial returns to the Corinthian givers. He says nothing about 100-fold multiplication of their investment. He calls them to give not reluctantly and not under compulsion. And it's worth noting here that high-pressure fundraising appeals that manipulate believers into giving by promising, supernatural financial returns are, by Paul's explicit standard here, a form of compulsion. And the cheerful giver that Yahweh loves, it's not the person who gives fearfully under the pressure of a prosperity teacher's deadline, hoping to activate the law of financial return.